Stephen A. Oh, he's a conservative. Well, damn it, I'm not yet, but I might be one day.
I think we found it. Yeah, I think we found a day. Hey, shout out to all of our subscribers and members here on the channel. My name is Reese Waters, and I'm troubled. You see, ever since the election, Black conservatives have been having a rough time. I mean, they are down bad.
Maga family, I was on TikTok Live, and a fellow Trump supporter said that all he needed was my vote. I'll never be part of the Maga family, and that I'm Black, I'll never be accepted, but he just got my vote.
It's really unfair. It's really unfair.
Actually, that was T.O., but I did want to send a shout out to the great Randy Moss and wishing him and his family a speedy recovery. Now, Black conservatives been down so bad, they had to ask Stephen A. to sound the call.
You get on my nerves. I don't agree with you 75% of the time, but you're still my buddy.
Yes, that's Stephen A.
Let me get back to the issue, however, of Black conservatives. And I've touched on this subject on many, many occasions, and I'm going to touch on it now, but never before have I touched on this subject the way that I'm going to right now. There's a lot of times it could be a Candace Owens. It could be a Larry Elder. To a lesser degree, it could be a Byron Donald.
No, not to a lesser degree. Ain't nothing to a lesser degree about Byron Donalds, other than his commitment to his Jamaican persona.
I remember Armstrong Williams. He's been out there for many, many years. I've known him for many, many years. Even to a lesser degree, somebody like Sage Steele, who used to work at ESPN and now, helped the Trump campaign. And
oh, you mean this Sage Steele?
Do you have to have hatred to succeed in this sport? Because here's the thing, he's a really nice guy behind the scenes. I mean, do you have to hate your opponents to win?
Can I touch your hair? Can I feel? I love your hair, by the way.
Random.
That has never happened before, because everybody that's sitting in this chair is thinking, and I can assure you, that's real hair, people, and it's very soft, I might add.
I wonder if they needed napkins out. He probably didn't need no napkins. It wasn't no extra moisture there.
Who knows? For all we know, I don't think she's interested in it, but who knows? She might end up being press secretary one day. I don't know. Whatever it is, I hope she does well. I wish her well. Sage and I got along.
Oh, I bet you do. I bet you that I don't doubt for a second.
Over the years, we've seen a level of vitriol emanating from Black conservatives to a point where people who are not conservative vilified them because of it.
Okay, should they not be held accountable for their own words and actions? I'm trying to figure out why you should not be vilified for the level of vitriol that you have spouted. I'm confused. Should we ignore them? Is that what you? Because I'll sign up for that. Speaking of which, platforms, are you listening? Where's the mute Black conservatives button? How have you not gotten on that? It's 2024. We got a man on the moon, but yet you bombard me with Black conservative perspective with no choice?
I was never down with that. I'm a registered independent who primarily votes Democrat. There have been several occasions I've been tempted to vote Republican, to vote conservative. Hell, some of the times I regretted I didn't. And who knows what the future holds with me with some of the nonsense that I saw from the left, particularly leading up to this election with woke and cancel culture and all of that stuff. But that's a different story for another day.
You forgot trans rights. You got woke, cancel culture. You forgot trans rights. And when you do go ahead and decide to leave, then you're going to have to, of course, talk about Chicago and black on black crime. I don't know how you want us to receive. Your bag's been packed for a minute, Stephen A. Like, your bag's been packed. You done called for Uber. You have a hotel reservation that you printed out and pasted on the refrigerator. We know. Stephen A is doing the verbal equivalent of the person who decides to post a comment to announce they're unsubscribing.
Here's the point that I want to make. While finding myself wishing that the inordinate amount of black conservatives that have been out there and are still out there would sort of dial back their vitriolic responses to the venom that's been thrown in their direction, I've rarely blamed them. Because you got people in here looking at folks from the conservative side who happen to be black, calling them sellouts and all of these kind of negative connotations, showing them no respect as human beings just because you don't agree and side with their ideology. Who the hell are you?
Ooh, we're gonna have to go ahead and deconstruct all of this. Now, I don't want to get into a whole chicken or the egg thing about who tossed and lobbed grenades first when it comes to black conservatives, because I could just as easily say, as somebody who is not a black conservative, that the sole identifier of a black conservative is the aggression they show towards the Democratic Party and any black people, quote, still on the Democratic plantation, which they love to use that kind of antebellum terminology. It's big over there.
The Democratic plantation really is worse than the plantation that I grew up on.
Not as big as advocating for Jim Crow, but that's probably coming soon. Just give them some time.
During Jim Crow, the black family was together.
So let me ask you, we're at this point where we're in a centuries-long struggle in order to get to a point where we feel like life is equitable for all different kinds of people. And in doing so, we have those who decide that they would like to adopt the mentality of the majority, which gives them something to point to and someone to point to in their defense of the status quo. So you tell me exactly what you feel like would be warranted in a situation like that, like actively making things more difficult on this side for their own personal gain. And if you don't think it's for their own personal gain, oh, you ain't paying attention. Now, if these people were to come out and say, you know, this party and this platform has been openly hostile towards my kind, but I am choosing to look past that because there are aspects of it that I feel like would be better for us than the opposing platform. I would still look side-eye, but at least I could respect the practicality and the pragmatism involved in that. But no, these are people who choose to openly ignore the blatant racism that is emanating from their side of the aisle.
We want to be treated differently. We want special privileges. We want black privilege.
You mean to tell me that they sit there and watch every single black face that happens to appear on the news that has some kind of title or is making some kind of money with a couple zeros in it get called a DEI, completely disqualifying us from ever being appropriate or having earned any position in society at this point without saying a word? They sit there and watch that without saying a word, and I'm not supposed to have a level of vitriol for that? I'm not. You mean the kind of people that will have a too honest history of our shared American past be denounced as CRT and sanitized for the protection of young white ears and young white eyes, irregardless of how young black children might feel with no greater context for the state of society? I'm not supposed to have a level of vitriol. I'm just supposed to ignore that. The fact that we have anti-DEI legislation currently that is elevating the harm of DEI over the litany of factors that called for DEI in the first place, and the fact that very few of them have been seen through to fruition, Ignore all of that, but I'm not supposed to have a level of vitriol.
So the first bill that I'll be signing is SB 266. And what this does is reorient our universities back to their traditional mission. And part of that traditional mission is to treat people as individuals, not to try to divvy them up based on any type of superficial characteristics. We're going to elevate merit and achievement above identification with certain groups. And in order to do that, we had to look at this new concept, relatively new concept, called diversity, equity, and inclusion.
The kind of people that will accuse me of having a victim mentality, because as you can see from my resume, I've been actively holding myself back due to my victim mentality. The people that would accuse me of having a victim mentality from trying to hold America accountable to its advocacy for life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness for all Americans, while taking advantage of the victim mentality that their own ancestors had when they were fighting for freedom. You'll take advantage of that, but I have a victim mentality. Oh, or was it that we magically crossed the finish line and racism is over? I'm not sure. When did we cross the magical finish line when racism? Was it when MTV decided to play Michael Jackson? Was that when we crossed it?
I was kind of upset about the news I heard about MTV and how they weren't showing blacks, and that kind of hurt me. So I wanted to do something that was so powerful, so strong, that everybody would have to show it.
Or was it when Jay-Z finally got a Grammy? Was that it?
First of all, I want to thank everybody that voted for this award. I want to thank the whole machine behind Jay-Z.
See, they might have been able to cover up a little bit better if their faction hadn't been so sloppy. You know what I mean? They are unbelievably sloppy. I mean, on the one hand, you have the fact that these openly white supremacist groups consistently side with MAGA. You also have the fact that the Christian nationalism that has started to spread its wings throughout our federal government and jurisdictions all over America, because some of them will try and say that, I'm a good Christian, so I want those ideals in our schools and all manner of American life. Well, the Christian nationalists also just told you exactly what it was.
Like all of our heroes were way more racist than we're allowed to be today.
You literally had Laura Loomer traveling with President Trump up to and after a presidential debate. You want to take a look at Laura Loomer's Twitter account? Now, I have been looking far and wide because I've been able to see a lot of stuff on Laura Loomer's Twitter account. What I haven't been able to see is any denouncement from any of the aforementioned black conservatives about any of that. I have yet to see any denouncement of any of that. In fact, the person who did denounce it was Marjorie Taylor Greene. And if you recall, Laura Loomer's clapback to Marjorie Taylor Greene was how she had in her back pocket that Marjorie Taylor Greene had dropped N's on Harrison Floyd, identifying not only that Marjorie Taylor Greene, an elected official, allegedly said that, but that she has the knowledge and it wasn't objectionable enough for her to say anything until now. So you tell me exactly what kind of emotion and what kind of feeling and what kind of reception is warranted from a group of people that will not only stand silent in the face of all of that, but advocate for it.
Most of my friends are liberal. Some of them are conservatives. I have no problem with any of them. All I want to hear is what your point of view is and why. And if you make sense and it's fact-based and it's not dominated by emotion trying to usurp the facts, I'm good with you. Even if I don't agree with you, because I know your position is based on fact.
I just gave you a whole lot of facts that are being openly ignored. So Do we pick and choose the facts, or exactly how you want to work with this whole fact thing? Exactly how you want to do that. Here's some facts. The guy they backed for president called low-wage jobs black jobs.
His big kill on the black people is the millions of people that he's allowed to come in through the border. They're taking black jobs now.
And that was when he was deciding not to question Kamala Harris's ethnicity. And then again, it also is his nephew and niece that openly called him racist. Those are facts. Those are some facts, right? More facts that they ignored. Yeah.
And for folks outside of the conservative community to look at people who are black and excoriate them just because they're conservative, who the hell are you? Where are your facts? There's a lot of history that goes into stuff. You can see it one way or another, but it's undeniable that bipartisanship played the role. Civil rights legislation, voting rights legislation, affirmative action, and things of that nature. Conservatives did play a role in some good things that happened in our society.
Oh, certainly. Certainly. They love to talk about how it was Lincoln and the Republican Party that freed the slaves. Actually, the abolitionists were the progressives of their day. So, I mean, you can call it the Republican Party, but they were also the progressives. I would not call those the conservatives that freed the slaves. Like, does that even make sense to you? Oh, really? So there was that's wild. Oh yeah, as the Democrats decided that they were going to push civil rights legislation, the Republicans decided to adopt the Southern strategy in order to use subtle racism and dog whistles in order to win over the Southern states. And that's when this whole realignment happened. They won't tell you about that, but yeah, that's what it is. Oh, they must be through with that now. They definitely through with the dog whistles. They just tell you exactly what it is.
So peep this, right? Tell me why I'm at the gas station earlier, you know what I'm saying? And I walk in there and see a group of construction workers. Like I was about to say Mexicans, but I don't know if they was Mexicans. I just heard them over there with tacos, and I ain't never heard that at Chipotle. So I just know they spoke Spanish. You feel me? So yeah, man, I'm in there getting some coffee, and this white dude walk up on me. Hey, get a hold of them. Not gonna have to deal with that for too much long. Ain't that right there, brother? Like, just call me. What the fuck do you mean, brother? Like, what the fuck you think you Hulk Hogan? The fuck is wrong with you, bro? And then the thing is, I don't get about white people. Why you gotta call me a brother? Why don't you call a white motherfucker could actually be your brother or brother? So anyways, I turn over and look at him. Put up with what? Tell me why this dead ass looked me in my eyes and said, come on, now don't do me like that. I know you're one of the good ones. No, one of the black ones. What the fuck does that even mean? So then I asked him, like, yo, what's the point of all of this? You know what I'm saying? Because I ain't gonna lie, this ain't my conversation. Well, this ain't their country. Like, okay, you know what, bro? Like, I get it. Let's just make America racist again.
The left and Democrats have been hypocritical in certain respects. So if we're gonna call balls and strikes, call balls and strikes. But we didn't do that. And we never do that when that comes to black conservatives. And don't use this as an opportunity to say, Stephen A., oh, he's a conservative. Well, damn it, I'm not yet, but I might be one day.
I think we found it. Yeah, I think we found a day. I think we got it.
Because I don't like the shit I've been seeing. But my voting record says otherwise. This is not about that. This is about us being grown-ups and being respectful of other people's positions and feelings and taking a moment to inhale and digest what the hell they're saying and deciphering what's true and what isn't true before we take a position. It's important that we do that. But we haven't been doing that. And then we wonder why black people in this country are the one disenfranchised community that exists in this country. You know why? Because we don't demand that you flatter us. Let me explain my position even further. If you go to buy a house, do you buy it without looking at it, walking through it?
In 2024, you might have to. I tell you this, I'm certainly not getting no appraisal without nobody walking through it. That's why I got to get rid of anything black that's in my house, so I make sure I get all my value. More stuff a black conservative would never acknowledge.
Probing and investigating before you decide to make that investment. Do you do something like that with a car as well? Don't you do it with clothes? Don't you do it with any purchase that you get? But when it comes to politics, no such thing. So in other words, the vast majority of black Americans in this country, particularly since 1964, have basically said, the right, you know what? You ain't worth a damn. We don't like you. We don't trust you. So guess what? We ain't giving you our vote. We can't come together for shit under most circumstances. But suddenly with politics, 85, 90%, etc. Oh, we gonna roll with the left.
He had me with we can't come together. I mean, I thought we were all at least going to come together and conclude that Martin was the dominant show of the 90s. But we can't even do that. Some people still talking about living single. I will give Stephen A. this point. I get his larger idea about trying to evaluate the platforms and therefore giving folks an incentive to give you things to win over your vote and using that as a mechanism of forward progress. I agree with you on at least that part of it. However, what exactly are we evaluating when it comes to, let's say, the 2024 election? Because I've already outlined a few of the things when it comes to Donald Trump. I didn't get into any of his history, like the discrimination lawsuit.
Trump management was charged with discriminating against African Americans.
Or Central Park 5.
You have people on both sides of that. They admitted their guilt. If you look at Linda Fairstein and if you look at some of the prosecutors, they think that the city should never have settled that case.
Or The Apprentice ends.
He said, yeah, but would America buy and he said the N-word, winning.
Or the thing at the casino. Let's get rid of that. Let's get rid of personal feelings about the candidate. Let's just look at the platform. So what is it that they kept saying to black people on the right? They did talk a lot about unemployment, right? That was a big thing. Lowest black unemployment, which was something that was lower under Biden. And then another thing that they love to talk about was HBCU funding. They love to talk about HBCU funding, which was another thing that was greater under Biden. Not to mention the fact that HBCU funding was zeroed out by Trump himself, and he characterized the heads of the HBCUs coming to him to restore that funding, quote, with tears in their eyes. I think that's the second, with tears in their eyes. Begging. I think he used the word begging when he's talking about the HBCU heads that came to him for the funding that he zeroed out. He's talking about begging. And that wasn't the worst of it, because you should see what he called Van Jones, who was with him.
He made a plea to me, Van Jones, total sleazebag. He made a plea to me to help him.
So we got black unemployment, we got HBCU funding, black opportunity zones. There was the black opportunity zones, which a lot of studies have gone into those opportunity zones and talked about how most of the money ended up in the hands of rich white developers. So there's the opportunity zone. And let's also acknowledge that if you had a litany of things, you wouldn't still be trotting out the same two tired and disproven talking points. Like, if you legitimately had a good plan for black people, you damn sure wouldn't include HBCU funding or black unemployment because of the explanations I just gave and gave multiple times before the election. But he appealed to black people on a personal level. That's right, the mugshot. Yeah, it was the mugshot that appealed to black people. So there was that, there was the mugshot, and then there was the sneakers that Fox News told me that had black people all in a tizzy. And then there's him constantly parading rappers and other folks with records in front of black crowds in order to appeal to them that way.
Trump gonna shout the wins for all of us. Make America great again.
So that's the house I'm looking at? That's the house I'm looking at. The house with the higher unemployment and the lower HBCU funding and the opportunity zones with the white developers covered in mugshots and gold sneakers. That's the house I'm looking at.
So what you've done is you've disenfranchised yourself.
Oh wait, I forgot about criminal justice reform. Yes, criminal justice reform. Yeah, you got to at least give him a point on criminal justice. Huh? Oh, he did want to grant immunity, didn't he? He did want to grant police immunity. Wow. Yeah, take that one off. Take that down. Yeah, take that out the living room. Yeah, take that down.
Why? Because the left know they have your vote and you're not going anywhere, and boom, you don't have to cater to African American needs. And on the right, you're like, we ain't getting their vote anyway, so let's pay attention to the constituent that's gonna put us in office.
Yeah, that is more or less how they go about their business, except they're smart enough to know how good they are with messaging. They know that they can get messaging out there, kind of like Trump putting his name on the stimulus checks. They know they can get messaging out there, and that low quality information will at least win over a handful of a few. And there might be some opportunists in that group that will take that and run with it for their own personal gain. You tell me how I should receive that with anything other than vitriol.
Either way you slice it, this one gives you little representation because they're taking you for granted. This one gives you little representation and no representation because they know they don't have your support anyway. And why are the other communities successful? Because I don't give a damn whether it's Cuban, it's Dominican, it's Venezuelan, it's Guatemalan, it's Puerto Rican, it's Mexican. I don't care what it is. You're Asian. You're the Jewish community. An abundance of white folks in the United States of America. Somehow, some way, everybody successfully goes about the business of making sure they tell you, show us you're worthy of our vote before we give it to you.
Okay, true and untrue, because you just mentioned the Latino community definitely didn't do that. That's why we've been having all these conversations after the election, or at the very least, that messaging didn't get through to the people it needed to get through to. If there is anything we can conclude from this 2024 election cycle, it is that while our community is rife with pick-me's, we are certainly not the only one. We're not a monolith, but neither are these other voting blocks either. Pick-meism is just something that just pervades society in general. But I will tell you that the thing that you're advocating for is the right thing. And I, for one, am at a point in a place in my life where there are aspects of the Republican platform that, quite frankly, would be better for me personally. If you weren't so openly hostile, so clearly hostile, like if it didn't take such a degree of cognitive dissonance for me to ignore the litany of things I have mentioned in this video, and I can still sleep at night, I might consider it, but I ain't gotten to that point of delusion yet. If they manage to try and be halfway decent in their approach and their advocacy to black people, they might get somewhere, but they haven't had to, thanks to the support they already have, which convinced them they never have to. Look at Byron Donalds. Sat there, didn't get any of those big cabinet jobs. Now they talking about him to replace positions, hold positions for people that did get the cabinet jobs, and he's still jumping up on CNN talking about, it's cool. Yeah, no, we good. We good. No, as long as I got enough Beijing, I'm fine.
There's still slots to be filled. So I think everybody needs to pump the brakes and just wait and see what happens.
And as a result, you have to cater to them. We don't do that. We don't do that. And that's where we made a mistake. And even though black conservatives may not do that to the degree that we like, in the end, what they're doing is they're bucking the system. They're saying we're not going to just buy what you're selling. The other side might have more of what we want.
I'm trying to figure out what exactly it is that is the more of what we want. Like a pat on the back? A pat on the back? Is that what it is? Because look at me, I'm black conservative seems to be all that they really want. Like MAGA hats and cutoff tees for them to wear out in public seems to be. I mean, they got them with merch. They pretty much got them with a box of merch.
And some of them did that in this election with Trump. And now the Democrats have to go back to the drawing board and figure out how can you appeal to more African Americans and more folks in the Hispanic community and beyond to regain the luster that you thought you had, but you evidently lost. In other words, ladies and gentlemen, even when things look bad, there's light at the end of the rainbow. You know what that light is? Believe it or not, Donald Trump winning the election because it forced everybody to stand up and pay attention and recognize that you no longer get to engage in hate mongering and fear mongering to win an election. You actually got to go out there and win it.
I'm sorry, run that by me one more time.
Because it forced everybody to stand up and pay attention and recognize that you no longer get to engage in hate mongering and fear mongering to win an election. You actually got to go out there and win it.
Oh, we cooked. Ain't no way. I wouldn't have believed he said that, and I sat there and watched it twice. Ain't no way. Hey, Stephen A., you might not have thought Jennifer Lewis was talking to you, but I think she was talking to you.
If you don't have hope because Donald Trump is president, find hope. You don't get to sit down and wait for 4 years until he's gone because everything's so fucked up. You fight. Make a difference. Get a kid to mentor. Do something to resist that.